problem is we be thinking we saving money by using these buy now, pay later things, and we're really not, because it just puts you in the mindset of, okay, because I can spend $25 today on this one item as opposed to spending $100, which is the total cost, I'm gonna buy 4 things this week that all cost $100, because then each payment is only $25. So I'm spending $100, but I'm spending it on 4 things instead of 1. But really, you're spending $400. Y'all get what I'm saying? Hey girl, welcome or welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Trinity, and today we're going to be talking about your 2025 financial glow up. Last year around this time, I did a video on your 2024 financial glow up, and I basically talked about things that I was doing at that time and things that I wanted to do in 2024 in order to glow up financially. That video was actually one of the most popular videos on my channel, so I figured it would be a great idea to just do that all over again this year as we go into 2025. In this video, I'm pretty much just going to be sharing with you some things that worked for me in 2024 and things that I will be implementing in 2025 in order to do even better with my finances. So if you're interested in hearing more about it and going on this journey with me for another year, make sure you keep on watching, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and let's get right into it. The first thing I suggest you do is go through your bank statements from 2024 and see where most of your money has been going. You can either look at just a few, like maybe the last 3 months, or you can look at every month of the year, just so that you can get an idea of what times of the year you spend more money, what you spend the money on, how much money you have coming in. You need to know all of that stuff in order for you to do everything else I'm going to tell you to do later on in this video. A big problem I noticed that a lot of people have, well, this was actually pointed out to me last year, but a lot of people have this issue where they are just spending, and they don't even realize that they can't afford a lot of the things that they're buying because they have no idea how much money is going to bills, how much is going to expenses that are just recurring, and they think they have way more money than they actually do. You don't want to be out here just buying clothes and skincare products and buying bags and shoes and whatever else, going out to dinner, fancy restaurants, going out for drinks every 5 seconds with your friends, if you don't know how much you can actually afford to spend. Just because you make, I don't know, random number, $7,000 a month does not mean that you have $7,000 a month to spend. That is how much money you are bringing in, but what are you financially responsible for every single month? You need to start there. What are things that you have to spend money on every single month before you can buy all your wants? Like I said, take a look at your bank statements. That's a great place to start because it's all right there for you, laid out. You can see the withdrawals, you can see the deposits, you can see how much you were saving, you can see the exact date that you made the purchases. So start there. Now you can do this before or after you take a look at the bank statements, but write out all of your bills and all of your expenses. This is something that really shocked me last year, because I was really just counting my bills, like my rent, BGE, car note, my phone bill, my suite rent, my Wi-Fi, internet, whatever you want to call it. For the longest time, I was only looking at that stuff, and I was not considering expenses like gas, groceries, supplies for my lash business, household essentials like laundry detergent, dish detergent, paper towels, toilet paper. So I thought I had way more money than I had. And it wasn't until I wrote out all those things that I really knew exactly how much money I was working with and how much I could afford to spend on the things that I wanted. And not only did I write out my bills and expenses, I wrote out the days that each thing was due, if it was due on a certain day. Or if it wasn't due on a certain day, I would just write out the week that I would typically pay for whatever it was. And it was really helpful for me to put all of this on a calendar after I made the list. So I have a calendar that is specifically for my bills and expenses. So all the stuff is written out that way. When I look at the calendar for the month, I know when I can afford to go out to eat with my friends. I know when I can afford to do a little extra shopping just for myself. I know how much money I can afford to save each week. I know when I should be buying Christmas gifts or birthday gifts. That has been saving me this year. Oh girl, I put my nail appointments on there too. Anything that I have to pay for that's like set in stone for a certain day, it's on there. Nothing is worse than going out and spending money and not realizing that you had $250 come out of your account that same day because you had a bill on auto pay that you forgot about. You want to have all this stuff written down, and you want to make sure you are looking at it. You don't want to just write it down and never look at it. The point is to have it to reference before you spend money on things that may not be 100% necessary. My next tip is to have a high yield savings account. This is something that I did this year for the very first time. I did not know what a high yield savings account was. I had heard of it, but wasn't really 100% sure about it. So if you've never heard of it, it's basically an online savings account where your money is growing. Now, some of y'all might be thinking, okay, yes, I gain interest on the money that's in my regular savings account. So what's the difference? With a high yield savings account, it's literally what it sounds like. The percentage that you earn is a lot higher than a regular savings account. I was earning like cents, pennies, but now that I have my high yield, my APY, I believe, is like 4.25%, something like that. This is good for multiple reasons. One, of course, your money is growing without you even having to do anything. And two, knowing that your money is growing will most likely prevent you from constantly pulling from the account. At least that's how it is for me. Because I know my money is growing and I like watching it grow, I don't even want to touch it. And then thirdly, if you do try to transfer money from your high yield savings account into your regular checking account, which is usually with a whole different bank, you're not getting the money right away. That's another thing that deters me from trying to take money out of there, because I know I'm not getting it right then and there. Like, I can't just go to the store and be like, okay, let me just transfer this from my high yield savings and buy this coat. No, because I'm not going to get it right away. You can do your research on what bank you should use for your high yield savings account. I use Marcus by Goldman Sachs. If y'all need a referral, my link will be in the description. If your money is going to sit in an account, at least put it somewhere where it's going to grow. My next tip is all about buy now, pay later. If you have fallen into the buy now, pay later trap, this is for you. Now, I talked about this in last year's video. I'm not gonna lie, it became a problem for me again this year. I tried my best. I did good for a little while at the beginning of 2024. And then I don't know what happened. I started spiraling. But it's because I didn't have a plan. So in last year's video, my plan was to pay off all of my buy now, pay laters. I use Zip. I don't know what y'all use. I love Zip because I can use that pretty much anywhere I go. Like, any place that takes a card or Apple Pay, you can use it. Very dangerous, might I add. But yeah, I really have no plan. I didn't have like restrictions. And I realized that just telling myself not to use it was not gonna work long term. Like, it worked for me for a little bit. And then once I started, I couldn't stop. So I was talking to one of my clients a few weeks ago and she was like, yeah, I just put myself on restrictions. So she has this thing where she tells herself, okay, you can only have 3 orders out at a time, and the payments for each order can't be more than $50. So if each order is 4 payments, that means that the total amount for each item can't be more than $200. Because if you have a $200 item and you break it into 4 payments, the payments are $50. So she doesn't allow herself to have more than 3 orders out at a time, which means every 2 weeks, she's not paying no more than $150 in payments for whatever buy now, pay later platform she's using. That is something that I never even thought of. I never thought to put myself on no restriction. You can do it like that, or you can just tell yourself, my limit might be $3,000 on this platform, but I'm not gonna allow myself to spend more than $500. So that means whenever you go on there, if that limit says anything less than $2,500, you don't need to be spending. If you don't wanna tell yourself, okay, don't use it at all, then restrict yourself. The problem is we be thinking we saving money by using these buy now, pay later things, and we're really not, because it just puts you in the mindset of, okay, because I can spend $25 today on this one item as opposed to spending $100, which is the total cost, I'm gonna buy 4 things this week that all cost $100, because then each payment is only $25. So I'm spending $100, but I'm spending it on 4 things instead of 1. But really, you're spending $400. Y'all get what I'm saying? Hopefully y'all catch my drift. If you ain't get it, just rewind it a couple times, write it down, and you'll understand exactly what I'm saying. You're telling yourself you're not spending that much, but you really end up spending more money on more items. You also need to make sure you have an emergency fund. I was talking to someone a few months ago, and they were talking about how they had this savings account, and I think they kept like $1,000 in there, and things just kept coming up. Like, they kept having problems with their car, like they need to get their brakes done and get an oil change and just other random stuff that kept popping up. And they were upset because they're like, every time I build up the account, I gotta spend the money on something. And I was like, but wouldn't you much rather spend it on what it's intended for than to have to spend your other money, like your bill money or your spending money, on those inconveniences, you've literally built up the emergency account for emergencies. It's so much better to put money aside for inconveniences than to have to spend your bill money and your money for your wants and all that stuff on new tires or getting your brakes done, getting rotors, all that stuff that you don't want to spend your money on. Have an account for those inconveniences. And it doesn't have to be a whole lot. You can start off with $1,000. Start off with the goal in mind of $1,000. And as time goes on, you can add to it. But if you keep that goal in mind of $1,000, that'll help you to build it up and not spend it on other things. If it's an inconvenience, if it's an emergency, then of course you can spend the money on it. If you're working towards $1,000 and you only have $500 in that account and then an emergency pops up, don't feel bad about spending that $500 or whatever portion of that $500 you need to spend on that emergency. That's what it's for. It's okay. And I think we all need someone to tell us that it's okay, because we all have the same mindset. Like, I see so many people on Twitter saying like, I created this account for a rainy day and it seems like it's always raining. At least you got that account for a rainy day. You just gotta learn how to shift your mindset, because if you don't, you'll never create that account and then you'll always be spending money that's for other things on those emergencies. This next one is one that I mentioned in last year's video, and I've also mentioned it quite a few times in my other videos throughout this year, but make sure you are keeping a wish list. I have been keeping a wish list for about a year now, I believe, and it has worked wonders for me, because I noticed that one of my biggest issues financially is that I am an impulse spender, especially when I am stressed, upset, sad, whatever. Whenever I'm not really in a good mood, if I'm aggravated, agitated, I try to make myself feel better by buying something. And I didn't even realize I was doing it until I watched this girl's video about like financial triggers, something like that, or like impulse spending triggers or something, where she was saying you have to figure out what causes you to do a lot of the things you do with your money. If I'm having a bad day, I'm quick to go on Amazon or quick to go on TikTok and type in Amazon favorites just to see what other people are buying and just buy what they bought. And I found myself buying a lot of things that I didn't even really want that bad. Like, in the moment, I felt like I wanted it. I felt like I needed it. But then I realized, like, okay, if I am going to spend the money, I need to be spending money on things that I actually do want. So I started keeping a wish list. Whenever I saw something that I really wanted, I added it to my wish list. It's in my notes on my phone. I didn't buy it right away. I would just put it on there and I would constantly add things. And then whenever I was in the mood to treat myself, whether it was because I was stressed or just because I had a little extra money and wanted to treat myself, I would go to the wish list first. That way I could ensure that I was buying things that I actually wanted, things I actually liked, things I actually had my eye on for quite a while. Because again, like I said, I was buying a bunch of stuff that I didn't really care that much about, because I would buy the things and then after like a week I would be like, dang, I got all these things that I've been thinking about for a long time that I could have been bought, but instead I've been buying a whole bunch of little small stuff. I have my wish list broken down into categories. So I have things on there that I want to buy for Jax. That's my son, for those of y'all who don't know. I have a category for clothing items. I have a category for accessories. I have a category for shoes. There's a bunch of different things on there. Skincare products, makeup products. That way I can go in there and say, okay, I only want to spend $50 on something today. What can I get for $50 that's on this list? Or, all right, my last couple purchases were shoes, so let me buy something else from one of the other categories. It will save you. I'm telling you, if you're a big impulse spender like me, definitely try the wish list. All right, now this next tip is for my girlies who love a good Shein haul, love a good Pretty Little Thing haul, love a good Boohoo haul. Y'all know all those fast fashion sites. There's nothing wrong with purchasing from those sites, but if you're the type of girl who is constantly on there spending $200, $300, $400, trying to redo your wardrobe every couple months, just hear me out. You gotta learn what pieces you should really invest in. Your whole wardrobe should not be fast fashion, because you are actually spending a lot more money throughout the year when you're buying from places like that for all of your wardrobe needs. I know y'all might think it's cool to buy a little $5 shirt off of Shein and keep buying $5 shirts, but I'm telling you, you can buy a $30 basic shirt that will last you for years, and it will actually in the long run end up being less money than all the money you're paying constantly every few months, because you're getting rid of stuff that is either trendy or just not good quality. As a fashion girly, I can say that I shop at a bunch of different places, but there are certain things that I'm only going to buy quality. Now, I used to be the type of girl who would always go on Pretty Little Thing or Shein whenever I wanted to get new clothes for the season or redo my wardrobe, because I felt like I want to get as much as I can for my money. And it wasn't until sometime this year, honestly, that I was like, you know what? I would much rather spend $500 on 5 quality things that I really, really love than to go into a store and spend $300 on 25 things that I don't really love, I just like, and they're kind of cheap. As I get older, I realize that it's really not about how much stuff you can buy. It's about building a collection of quality things that you actually love. I no longer want to have a big collection of things that I just like, or a big collection of things that I'm probably going to get rid of in 6 months, or a big collection of things that I won't really like next year around this time. So just think about that. Again, there's nothing wrong with buying from websites like the ones that I mentioned, but don't be so wrapped up in getting a whole bunch of stuff, because it's not always about getting a whole bunch of stuff. And lastly, you want to make sure you have a debt plan. If you're not new to my channel, you know that I talk about intentionality all the time, and your finances are no different. You have to be intentional with your money, and you definitely want to be intentional when it comes to your debt. Before 2024, I was not getting anywhere with my debt because I was randomly throwing money at it whenever I felt like it. I didn't have a timeline in mind for when the debt was going to be paid off. I would literally just like throw $200 at it 1 month, and then maybe 6 months later I'll throw $100 at it. I wasn't really being intentional. I was just winging it, and y'all know winging it gets you nowhere with anything. You have to have a plan for everything. I'm not going to go too in depth in this video on the different ways to pay off your debt. You can either Google that, look on TikTok, look on YouTube for other videos, or just watch last year's video. I'll link it in the description box because I went in depth in that one, and I really don't want this one to be too repetitive. But the overall message here is to make sure that you actually have a plan for it. The first thing you really need to do is figure out how much debt you even have. Who else do you owe money to? Because it might not just be a credit card. Like, what other debt do you have? Write it all out. Make sure you write out the amounts and figure out what you can tackle. How much money can you throw at it each month or each week or whatever, to make sure that it gets done by a certain time. Even if you only pay off 1 credit card in 2025, that may be a whole lot more than what you've done in the past. I know for me, I only had 1 credit card, but I had like other debt that I needed to pay, and paying that 1 credit card off was a huge accomplishment for me because I was carrying that balance for so long. I was just glad to see it gone. And then my other debt, I created a plan earlier this year, and it may not be completely paid off, but I'm a lot further than I was this time last year and every other year before. So be intentional, make 2025 count. When we get to December 2025, you don't want to be in the same space financially that you are right now in December of 2024. So make your plan. Listen to all these tips. If y'all have any tips that y'all would like to share with everyone, feel free to comment down below. I don't think I'm gonna wait until next year to do another video like this. As I come up with more ideas, I'll try to share more financial tips. But I hope y'all enjoyed this. As always, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.